Well, who are Gog and Magog? And where are they now? Because we know they're in Ezekiel 38. But before we get to Gog and Magog, or Gog Magog, we need to get up to date on a recent event that was televised worldwide. Do you remember this, AUKUS, where Prime Minister of Australia, Prime Minister of England and the President of the USA got together virtually on the news to do a big display of, an agreement of large proportions, very large to Australia, virtually nothing to the USA. But anyway, what is AUKUS? Well, Australia, UK, USA. The US and the UK and Australia have announced they are setting up a trilateral security partnership aimed at confronting China, which will include helping Australia to build nuclear-powered submarines. By the time they made these things, it's too late. It's over. US President Joe Biden, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who at this time, had Liz Truss, or just after this time, had Liz Truss before as Defence Minister, or some type of minister in UK, calling for the destruction of Russia with nukes, calling on the City of London. Now, she missed out the word corporation, but if you know who the Empire is, she was calling on the City of London Corporation. In other words, the whole of the Empire of England, which includes many nations still to this day, even the ones who are republics. So the Minister Boris Johnson and Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison announced the deal together virtually, so online. So US, UK and Australia will forge a military alliance to counter China. Australia, now that is actually going to happen actually, when you look at trumpet number 2 and trumpet number 6. So I'll just leave that there, because you can look at the videos on this channel. Read trumpet number 2 to happen in January 2031. So we haven't even got to the trumpets yet, or the climax of the trumpets. Climax of trumpet number 1 hasn't happened yet. So we're still in the build-up of these things. Australian nuclear submarine deal, defence backed with US and UK, means 90 billion contract with France will be scrapped. Australia News Live, government agrees to nuclear powered submarine deal with the US and UK, live updates. So there you go, that's the UK, USA and Australia joining together. Now, isn't that interesting? Why would they do that? Well, they've done it in the past, in World War I and World War II, of course, but it's because of the City of London Corporation Empire. Let's move on. Why is this important? Australia is not a part of NATO. NATO stands for North Atlantic Treaty Organisation. Well, that's correct. Australia is not part of NATO. So why make this agreement? There must be something to it somewhere along the lines, apart from the bases of Pine Gap near Alice Springs, which basically keeps Alice Springs alive. Alice Springs in the middle of Australia there is there basically to supply Pine Gap military base. And then you've got Woomera in South Australia, couple of 100 kilometres north of Port Augusta. Used to go there many times, or past there. And so you got that, and that has the only air-conditioned dome, like the whole dome, radar dome, in massive thing, is air-conditioned. Well, that's because it gets to 50 odd degrees in the sun. Well, actually, I've seen it in the shade in that area, so extremely hot. And the air conditioner for that thing is, it's bigger than the machine is bigger than a 4-bedroom house. I mean, it's just enormous. But anyway, I digress. So why is this important? Well, the UK City of London Corporation, which is different to the London. Okay, so the City of London Corporation owns the USA through Delaware, and you can go and look up all those things, from Columbia and so forth. And the USA owns Australia through a privately held corporation listed on the Securities Exchange Commission in the USA. So, although they've changed the story on that lately, Australia has, but that's originally what they said. And anyway, you can find that online. Now, an updated alliance agreement is needed because Australia is not part of NATO, so we need to make an alliance so that Australia can send all its missiles and Bushmasters and have them all destroyed and be defenceless. Of course, it's too big a country to defend anyway. With conventional weapons, you need electromagnetic weapons, which they are using to destroy the Earth, as we know. So now let's look at who attended the City of London Corporation Lord Mayor's show every year, except for World War II, when they got damaged, since I've got 1954 there, but it should be since 1554. So since 1554, these characters have been pulled along the streets of London, past the Bank of England, past the Royal Exchange, in the Lord Mayor's show. As said in previous videos, the Lord Mayor of the City of London Corporation is the only one who can give, if they decide to lock down the square mile of Greater London with their own army and military, the only person that can enter is the monarch, and only if the Lord Mayor gives them permission. So this person here has more power and say than Queen Elizabeth, now deceased, and head number 6 of the Antichrist beast system, being the City of London Corporation military industrial complex and medical. And the Antichrist system. So, moving on, Gog and Magog. Here they are. Here is the Cain worshipful figures that the worshipful basket company, livery company of London made. There's 110 livery companies, that make up this corporation. So Gog and Magog, these are cane ones to make them easy to pull along the road by hand. But until 1700 odd, they used to pull the wooden ones along, which were very heavy, of course. So 1554, we see the phoenix on one head and the dragon on the other head. Gog and Magog, every year, second week of November, on display through the streets of Greater London, and this picture's in front of the Royal Exchange in London. So here is Gog and Magog. Gog and Magog is not Russia. Contrary to British Israel theology that many of us were taught, it was incorrect. So Gog and Magog were actually damaged in World War II, so they removed them from the guide hall. They then remade them, Gog and then put them back in the guide hall in 1953. And here they are in the black and white short movie showing them doing that. So we know that Gog and Magog is now England and the Isles, Isle of Man, Isle of Jersey, Isle of Wight, Ireland, etc. So what we've established so far is that Gog and Magog, or Gog Magog, statues have been in Guide Hall of the City of London Corporation since at least 1554, except for a brief period in World War II, where they were destroyed, as I previously said. So where else could Gog and Magog be? Well, let's move on. So we know they're in England, but could they be in the USA? Well, look at that. They're in the USA. They're in Gog Magog in the USA, the John Bennett building. And you see the dragon up at the top there in gold. And there's Gog and Magog in the Sir John Bennett building in Michigan. So let's have a closer look. There's Gog and Magog there. I didn't go into their shields and that, but there's a lot of people say it's an eagle and whatever. No, I prefer these guys are against God, as in the kings of the earth today, be them Biden, Morrison, whoever. The kings of the earth are fighting against God. So Phoenix, dragon, it's against God. Gog and Magog, close up, John Bennett building, or Sir John Bennett building in Michigan, USA. So let's have a bit deeper look. History of the building and Gog Magog in Michigan, USA. Sir John Bennett Jewelry Shop. Sir John Bennett liked the mythical story of Gog and Magog. This is, the narrative, of course, the ancient protectors of Britain. So he recreated them for the front of his shop. The clock figures Gog and Magog told the chimes of this shop every 15 minutes. Gee, that'd drive you crazy, wouldn't it, if you worked in the shop and could hear them? But anyway, Sir John Bennett was a successful clock, watch and jewellery maker in London, England. This building stood a grand 5 stories at its original London site. It was scaled down to 2 stories where it was moved to Greenfield Village. Today it is a sweet shop inside. Built in 1931 in Greenfield Village. Exterior decorated with elements from the original shop in London, England. So there you go. The USA is part of Gog and Magog. Isn't that interesting? Now I might just go back up and we'll go back to Gog and Magog. Now one of these guys has a snake on his head. The other one has a dragon. Well, it looks like a snake. Might be a phoenix. But then you see on the shield on the left one, the phoenix. Phoenix rises from the ashes. Ezekiel 28, verse 11 to 19. When God destroys Satan. So Satan is the phoenix rising from the ashes because he's thrown out of heaven. In eternity time frame, and soon to be in our time frame as well. So let's carry on. Where in the world are Gog and Magog? Why? In Australia, of course. In the Royal Arcade, Melbourne Shopping Centre in the state of Victoria, Australia. And it's also a clock. Gant clock. Let's have a look at that. There we are. This is in the Royal Arcade in Melbourne. Been there, seen them. Read that sign too. So, and they chime every so often. And that clock's, I don't know, 100 plus years old. So here we have a connection of Gog and Magog from England to USA and Australia. So closer look, left history signage. These two 7-foot giants have been striking the time on Gant's clock since 1892. They were carved from clear pine and modelled on the figures erected in Guide Hall, London. Guide Hall being the City of London Corporation headquarters. London in 1708 to symbolise the conflict between the ancient Britons and Trojan invasions. So what happened was these two characters fell in love with a lady. The lady's name was London. So that's London with an A at the end, not Londoner as in Londner. No, London A as in Londona. Supposed to be a beautiful lady, and they fell in love with this lady, and then Brutus came along with the Romans and whoever, and defeated them, and placed each one of these figures at the south end of the Guide Hall and the other at the north end. So mythology tells of the giants of Gog and Magog, also known as Cornelius and Gog Magog, having been captured in the battle by the Trojans and made to serve as porters at the gateway of an ancient place on a site later occupied by the Guide Hall. It was traditional for Gog to stand in the north and Magog to the south. There's a book been written about these, and that book is here. History in a Book, written in, I think it was 1819, by Robin Goodfellow. Gog and Magog, Champions of London. There you go. London, the City of London Corporation, the Empire. You know, I mean, I could go so far into this. I'm just brushing on it. I'm just scratching the scratch on the scratch with this video. At this point, we have to question. We need to question the old British Israel theology of Gog and Magog being Russia. The statues here, the agreements, prove that that's not the case. Someone or somebody got it wrong by accident or by intent. Misled? Would we be misled? Misinformed? Fake news? Fake information? Would our grandfathers and fathers who were, scripturally compliant, were misled by being told that from the north, Gog and Magog is Russia? Nah, that wouldn't happen, would it? I'll leave that for you to decide. So here we are, Ezekiel 38, verse 1 to 7. I'm going to read this. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog. As you have seen, that is England, USA and Australia. Chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, not Moscow and Toposky, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks in thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth, and all thine army, and horses and horsemen, and all them clothed with all sorts of armour. Now that's a very interesting one. All sorts of armour. Electromagnetic weapons, scalar weapons, Tesla technology. Yeah. Anyway, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. And of course the sword can be electronic, can be a laser, not just a metal sword. Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, which have all been conquered pretty much by the USA over the last, since Vietnam, North Korea, Vietnam, and then murderous Bush, Clinton, Obama, Libya, destroy Iraq, destroy Syria, Yemen. Ethiopia's currently in a civil war that starved them to death. So now it's all going on. All of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and his bands, which means lots of troops, and House of Togama. Sorry for my mispronunciation there. Of the fourth quarters and his bands, and many people with thee. You can't just have the military go to these places. You got to have. It takes about 3 people to get one military person to these places. So when someone announces, for example, they're going to recruit bring up 300,000 reservists, well, that takes at least another 900,000 people to be involved just doing that. So anyway, and all his bands and people with thee, be thou prepared, and prepare thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be a guard unto them. So I am going to go into these words a bit later. So Ezekiel 38 verse 10 to 15. Thus saith the Lord God, it shall come to pass at the same time thou think these things come into thy mind, thou shalt think an evil thought, and thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. Well, where's Russia's walls at the moment? Haven't they been all eroded by NATO, taken over all the countries they said they were not going to take over? And that's why Putin's taken a stand with Ukraine. He says, no, you're not coming any closer. I will go into them that are at rest, Russia, and dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars or gates, to take a spoil, to take a prey, to turn thy hand upon the desolate places, Siberia. That reminds me of, that are now inhabited, and upon the people that are gathered out of the nations, which have gotten cattle and goods, and dwell in the midst of the land, Sheba and Dian, and merchants of Tarshish, and all the young lions thereof, shall say unto thee, art thou come to take a spoil? Have you gathered thy company, NATO, AUKUS, many people and nations like NATO, and AUKUS, to take a prey, to carry away silver and gold? Now, why would they want the gold? I mean, Russia only has 2,200 tons of it. Of course they want the gold. And to take away cattle and goods, to take a great spoil. Therefore, son of man, prophesy and say unto Gog, thus saith the Lord God, in that day when my people of Israel dwell safely, thou shalt not know it, and thou shalt come from thy place out of the north parts, thou and many people with thee, all of them riding upon horses, and a great company, and a mighty army. And it shall come to pass, shall come up against my people Israel, as a cloud to cover the land. It shall be in the latter days, and I will bring thee against my land, that the heathen may know me, when I shall be sanctified in thee, O Gog, before thy eyes. Now, as a cloud to cover the land. That's very important, because when you see these electromagnetic machines that they go faster than the eye can see, when they're stationary, they are camouflaged by a cloud that they create, which other people have shown on their channels. So these machines are huge. Some of them are absolutely enormous. And it says later on in the Bible here that, when God's finished, these machines are going to fall into basically the Mediterranean, and the way from Israel to, say, Italy will be blocked. They're going to, these things are going to just fall out of the sky and blown out of the sky by God or whatever, and block up the seaway of Mediterranean from Israel to other countries. So Ezekiel 38 verse 1 to 7. So we see here that Gog and Magog have an evil thought. Now, as I said before, Liz Truss was called, before she became Prime Minister, was calling on the City of London, quote unquote, corporation to attack Russia with nuclear weapons, and others have joined in that call lately. So therefore, Son of Man, prophesy against God and say, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, of the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and leave a sixth part of thee, and cause thee to come up from the north parts, and will bring thee upon the mountains of Israel, and I will smite thy bow out of thy left hand, and will cause thy arrows to fall out of thy right hand. That's happened before, if you read Judges chapter 5, with these electromagnetic weapons. Thou shalt fall upon the mountains of Israel, thou and all thy bands, and the people that is with thee. I will give thee unto the ravenous birds of every sort, and the beasts of the field to be devoured. Thou shalt fall upon the open field, for I have spoken it, saith the Lord. So now, this part here is trumpet number 7. The first part was probably trumpet number 6, which was also fighting against Armageddon, fighting against the kings of the east. Trumpet number 6. This is trumpet number 7. And I will send fire against Magog, so that England, and among them that dwell carelessly in the isles, England, Ireland, Isle of Man, Isle of Wight, and so on. He's going to send fire. Well, there's multiple ways God can do that, but if the lithium batteries explode, how much fire is that going to create, just them alone? It's going to be enormous, because the car batteries are cooled by oil. So, the fires are just going to be enormous. And they shall know that I am the Lord. So I will make my holy name known in the midst of my people Israel, and I will not let them pollute my holy name anymore. So no more blasphemy on the movies and everything else that they do. So much so that watching Hollywood, Bollywood, is just terrible. And the heathen shall know that I am the Lord, the Holy One of Israel. So that's coming. Trumpet number 7. When England thinks we're going to attack Russia and destroy it, other than just a mere passing thought by Liz Truss or Albanese of Australia, or Penny Wong from Australia, when that gets serious, then trumpet number 7 will happen. But before that, we've still got the climaxes of trumpet number 1, which has not happened. All the green grass burnt up, in a day to create a starvation event. Now that hasn't happened. And then we got the International Space Station splashing down into Point Nemo in the Pacific when they blow up the underground, under the sea volcanoes and destroy the Chinese Navy, which is trumpet number 2, which NASA says they're going to drop the ISS into the sea as a, which will be a scapegoat, of course, in January 2031. Just a few days after the magic date of December 2030. So anyway, let's have a look at the meaning of the words. Meaning of the words: strong concordance. Gog Magog, Gog Magog, son of Japheth. So that was one of the sons of Noah, Gog. 1463 is the Strong's Concordance, SC, means name of Israel and some northern nation. Now, don't forget that when you look at the earth on the pictures on the internet is shaped a certain way. Now, if you believe it in the football earth, then it's on an axis and so forth, and it's disguised. If you believe it's in the flat earth on the United Nations map, then is it correctly the right way up, or should you turn it 90 degrees to the right and get a different picture of who's north of Israel and so forth? So Meshech 4092, a tribe joined to Kedar and Midianite. Tubal, son of Japheth, migrants to Sicily and Spain, the Strong's Concordance say. So we got the Spanish connection, we got the Italian connection. I haven't put it here, but there's a Greek connection as well, and Greek is tied to England and so forth. So through Prince Philip. Oh yeah, okay, because he was a refugee on the ship, wasn't he, with the Queen's cousin or second cousin? I think that was second cousin she married. Anyway, so anyway, back to the story. Togma, son of Gomer, north, the word north, 6828, a gloomy, dark, hide. Also 6845, hoard, protect, unfavourably, to lurk, keep in secret. Well, what does the Bank of England do with the gold? Doesn't it hide it? Doesn't it keep it secret most of the time? I think only the Queen's been allowed down there. We're certainly not allowed to see the gold. No, because there's 6 vaults underground of the gold. I mean, Australia sends all its gold to England. Lends it 80, 100 tonne of gold, and only keeps 20 tonne in this country, in Australia. Or the rest of it's been sold off, or given away, or contractually given to Gog and Magog for conquering this land back in, the first settlement when they took over this land illegally. Was never conquered. There was never any agreement. The Union Jack planted in Australian soil did not change the Aboriginal law at all. So sings a person about treaty. So anyway, that sort of describes a bit like England, and it sort of describes the machines that cloud themselves with water vapour so that you can't see them, which are also on this channel. If you look at the electromagnetic machines that have been around a long time, destroying the earth over and over and over again, as their technology got better and better. So quarters, 3111 from Strong's Concordance, coast, border, port, quarter, side. 3409, figuratively speaking, shank, flank, side, loins, shaft, thigh, meaning to be soft. Well, that sort of sounds a bit like England too, doesn't it? Bands 102, a cover or heap, rings of a fury or crowds of troops. Bands. So lots and lots of machinery, weapons and so forth. Company, assemblage, unusually corner, assembly, congregation, multitude. 6950, convoke, assemble. So AUKUS must do what the City of London Corporation tells it to do. So must the USA, plus so must all the other nations that they control via currencies and other things, or just go and blow them up like they did with Libya. Libya had more social benefits for their people, had water from underground from the aquifers, and because they didn't borrow money from the International Mafia or Monetary Fund, they had that had to be destroyed, and so they destroyed it. So in other words, due to population spread and population interbreeding, because there's 300 different languages spoken in London, then many nations will come against Israel and Russia, NATO and AUKUS, Australia, UK or USA. So it's a bit hard to say, okay, this is them, that is them these days, when you look at, the ancestry of who's who. But the Bible covers it well enough in what they've said. So from Ezekiel chapter 38, it is fair to say that Armageddon is the NATO and AUKUS Gog and Magog countries attacking the kings of the east, aka China, North Korea, possibly India, Iran and Syria, among others, in trumpet number 6. Remember, we haven't even finished the climax of trumpet number 1 yet. So, and trumpet number 2 climax is potentially January 2031. So we've got some time to go here, yeah? In other words, Armageddon is not the end. It is where 1/3 of mankind is killed, but it is not the end before Jesus returns, because the end is when God roars out of Zion and totally destroys the Isles and England, as in the scripture above there. So, Armageddon, that people like to say, Ezekiel 38, is trumpet number 6, not trumpet number 7. So from Ezekiel 39, it's fair to say that NATO and AUKUS, Gog and Magog countries thinking an evil thought and assuming preparing for it as they are currently doing, but taking maybe another 15-20 years to complete, to attack Russia and destroy. But then God roars out of these Temple Zion, wipes out England and the Isles, like the Isle of Man, off the map. Also a word from God, and the whole world is on fire. Basically, it's just a word from God. That's all he needs to do. And the whole world is on fire to destroy the technology that is used for evil purposes. They could use it for good, but they don't. In other words, the evil thought is in trumpet number 7. God puts the enemies of Jesus at his footstool and Jesus returns. Russia is in trumpet number 7 and will continue to resist Gog and Magog, NATO and AUKUS till the very end. Then, you know, as one person says, President Putin does not have a reverse gear, and he can't. He can't, because he's got to defend his country against an empire that Churchill said was absolutely enormous. So, thank you for watching. I could have gone deeper. This video could have gone for hours, but it's at 40 odd minutes now. So links are below to the book and other videos about Gog and Magog and the Lord Mayor's show. I hope you go and watch them if you're interested, and I hope you enjoyed this video with a deeper explanation of who Gog and Magog is, and that is England, well, the City of Corporation of London, or the City of London Corporation, the empire who owns the USA and owns Australia, New Zealand and all the other countries. So Gog and Magog, Western countries, NATO, not Russia. Thank you for listening. Until next time.